Felicitations and well-meetings, everyone. I am Mordecai, the greatest bard that ever walked the multi-realms, or so, as my few friends say. Oddly enough, those same friends owe me a lot in unpaid ale and food in this tavern. Oh well, tonight will be a special performance from yours truly, for I have a new composition, you see. One that will rouse your slumbering spirits, brave through all adversaries, and keep your blood pumping in your veins faster than a basilisk's venom inside your, veins. So, I hope you're all listening, because here we go. Oi there, bard! Shut it! I know I've been playing you to provide entertainment in my establishment, but your singing is a wall of them. Why don't you tell one of your stories instead and not scare away the customers with your banshee wares, yeah? The barkeep? Who is a critic of the fine arts? Well, I guess I will have to comply for now. Cultured old though. What is that? Oh, nothing. I said there's some message to our sponsors. We would like to thank the following people for their generous tips and support to keep this tavern up and running, starting with and finally, if you want to support us, please give us a like, share and perhaps subscribe to our channel to help make us grow and bring you more stories like this. Here are the links below. And with all that said, let's keep this show running with a new tale following the exploits of the Planeswalkers in a place called Dominaria. And it goes something like this. Time trickled away more slowly than the grains of sand settling between the rocks. The fine particles sifted into Karn's joints. He didn't know how long he had lain there, pinned in the dark. Was it days or weeks that had passed? What if months had flown away like a small and startled bird? What if it was longer? Years, decades, eons. No, he could not think of it. No one would miss him. No one knew where he had gone. He should have told someone. He should have at least told Joyra or Jaya. If he had told them, they would have known where to search and either freed him or seen the Phyrexians themselves. What if the Phyrexians were the ones to find him? Would it be worse if no one found him? He might wait alone forever in the darkness, in the silence. Sand trickled down. The scrabbling noise. Maybe claws grating on rough stone. A weight lifted away from his hand, exposing it to the chill air currents. He could move his fingers. Relief shot through him, a pang more powerful than the blind eternities. He stretched his fingers, marveling at the freedom of this small movement, the ability to make any movement. Something warm and soft touched his fingertips. Organic, impenetrable to his senses. Not Phyrexian. Gentle, thoughtful. He was found. The warmth left his fingertips. Had his rescuer departed? The scratching quickened, rocks grated, pebbles cascaded. Clunks as large rocks tossed away landed. The burden on him lightened. Karn strained. The material around him budged, shifting at the pressure of his enormous strength. Karn exercised the powerful mechanisms in his torso, pushing himself upright. Rocks pulled away. He heaved himself up slowly. He wanted to take care not to hurt his rescuer with any stray stone. As his efforts increased, the scratching noise ended. Footfalls retreated as his rescuer stepped clear. Karn would have to trust that they had moved to a safe distance. Karn pulled himself to his feet. Stone poured off him, and he was free. The warm air caressed his body. He rolled his shoulders, reveling in the movement. The tumbling rock kicked up a grey haze. He shook the fine particles from his body and wiped clean his eyes. Ajani stood in the tunnel, his fur a striking white in the torchlight. The pupil of his unscarred, pale blue eye glinted with the nocturnal hue of a nighttime predator. His shoulders of a proud set to them, like he was pleased he'd found Karn. He granted Karn a friendly, close-lipped smile. Karn nodded, tentative. He'd only met Ajani a few times. For Ajani's species, baring teeth was a hostile action, so this smile was friendlier than a broad human grin.
How did you find me?
Karn cleared his throat. It, too, felt dusty. The mechanism inside it clicked uncomfortably.
I told no one I was here.
Ajani coughed awkward, deep in his chest.
After you didn't answer the letters, Joyra became worried about you. She asked Ra to place a tracking spell on the letters, one that would only activate when you, and only you, opened the envelope. That's how I located your camp.
Karn stilled, embarrassed. Had Joyra known every time he'd read a letter and left it unanswered? Every time he'd pushed aside the paper heaps on his worktop to make room for a new project? Had Ajani seen the chaotic clutter that populated his workspace? Karn would have never let his camp descend to such a state if he'd expected a visitor. He evaded Ajani's gaze and investigated the joints in his body for damage. The spearhead. He'd forgotten he'd left that lodged in him.
Every time you moved the letters, Joyra knew you were alive.
Ajani said.
And didn't want to talk. She was determined to give you the time you needed and not to press you. She knows how private you can be when you are upset.
Karn worked at the spearhead, trying to remove it from his body. The rockfall had jammed it even deeper into him.
But when you stopped shuffling the letters around,
Ajani continued,
she grew concerned. And here I am.
Karn grunted. He wiggled the spearhead back and forth, trying to loosen it from between his torso plates. His blunt fingers, though capable of the most detailed work, couldn't dig deep enough. He still couldn't believe Joyra had known how often he'd looked at those letters, considered replying, and then set them aside. Too many times.
Is Joyra well?
She is in her workshop on the mana rig.
Ajani shrugged.
And the weather light?
She returned the weather light to its rightful owner. Shana captains it.
Oh, good. Shana will rise to the task.
Karn had served with Sisei and was pleased to see the airship in her descendants' hands.
Do you mind if I...
Ajani nodded at a spear point. Karn shrugged. Ajani was not as tall as Karn, but he was tall enough that he had to bend his head to inspect the spearhead. He inserted his claws into Karn's joints with surprising delicacy.
You know, every Planeswalker goes through phases like this. We withdraw, especially if we have played a role in changing a plane's fate. I have seen it time and time again. After a great hunt, you feast and you sleep. It's natural, and there is no shame in that.
I do not feast and I do not sleep.
That does not mean you don't need to recuperate.
Ajani eased the spearhead from Karn's body. Karn had never been permitted to recuperate when Urza had loosed him as a war machine. Urza had explained it was unnecessary and, indifferent to Karn's weariness, had turned his attention to other more interesting projects. Ajani examined the spear point. Its metal glimmered a sickly green in the dimness.
You encountered more than a rock fall. What happened here, my friend?
Karn didn't wish to answer the question, not until he knew whether he could trust Ajani. The vision he'd had upon touching Sheoldred still thrummed within him. Phyrexian agents everywhere, hidden across Dominaria, waiting.
How long have I been buried?
A few months.
Ajani admitted.
It took time to locate you.
Months lost. Months that could have been spent preparing. Sheoldred's segmented parts had skidded along his paralyzed arms, down his back, spider-like they had poured over him. She would have had ample time to reassemble herself. Rona as well, he was sure.
You have damaged yourself.
Karn nodded at Ajani, whose claw had torn at the cuticle, a wound that had most likely occurred when he had dug Karn out from the rock slide.
Let us return to my camp for supplies. I must also check the sensitive equipment there to verify that it is still functional.
Karn did not voice what he feared most. Did he still have the Silex and the clay tablet? Well, it looks like Karn has other friends after all. I thought he would be a solitary old chap. Islands and all that. Well, as much as I would like to continue this nice tale, I will have to cut this short because the barkeep is calling me. Hope I still have a job after that encounter. But if not, then I have been Mordecai, the Solemn Bard. Until next time, my friends. Okay. Yes, Wacky? Don't think I didn't hear you back there when talking about me, huh? No, I was not talking about you. You know, it's just sending a message that you are. No, you're just kidding about that.